Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much for inviting me here to share my thoughts with you. It's nice to see such a large gathering of investors, and this is a very good opportunity for me to put a different spin on of a number of complex interrelated variables. And unless you recognize this, you might be barking on the wrong tree. For example, it is the initial resource endowment of a country, natural, physical, and human. What is the capital and what is the resource base on which a country can build its economic edifice? Second is, what is the non-economic factors which are affecting the economy at a particular point of time? Because the non-economic factors, the political, the social stability, do play an important role. The markets work on sentiments, markets work on trust, markets work on social capital. And if these elements are missing, not because of the economic policies themselves, but for non-economic factors, those have to be taken into consideration. The third is, we're all becoming integrated into the global economy. Therefore, the external economic environment is a very critical determinant of what happens in the local space. And that is also a determinant of the direction in which you are going and the space which you are able to maneuver. And the fourth factor, which combines all this, is what is the quality of economic management and the governance structure of a country. When all other variables are turning difficult or are unfavorable or are ridden with uncertainty, somebody has to steer the ship of the economy with very strong hands in order to counter these tendencies. But if you look at the conditions which prevailed in Pakistan during the last 18 months or so, you had oil prices going up from $50 to $140. The commodity prices, the wheat prices almost doubling in a span of 1 year to 18 months at a speed which has not been known in the recent history. You have a situation where you're losing money out of your own pocket in the war against terrorism. And all this talk about the US aid coming in after September 11 and bailing out Pakistan is a total bunkum. If you have a balance sheet which you construct the losses Pakistan has incurred since September 11, and you take all this reimbursement, this is reimbursement of our own money. We incur the money first on the war against terrorism, and then after 6 months or a year we get the money back in dollars. That's the only thing we're doing. And everybody calls that as aid. I have never come across any definition of aid which takes the reimbursements. If you deduct that $10 billion which has come in, $6 billion, $7 billion, you're left with $3 billion. We earn $40 billion of our foreign exchange. So what is the $3 billion which has come over 6 years? That is a drop in the ocean. So let's get our facts right. Let's not become obsessed with emotions. So the external environment, I would submit, has been negative for Pakistan. And some of you would recall that not only the war risk premium have gone up, after September 11, the buyers refuse to come to Pakistan. You have to meet them either in Singapore or in Dubai, and that is not a very, favorable condition for anyone to do business. Orders are not placed. IT companies, I have come across and talked to them, they were positioning themselves in the international market before September 2001. That all disappeared because the companies back in the United States said, we can't rely upon an unstable country. Then on the top of that, you have political transition, which was a messy transition. It was not a smooth transition. You have assassination of one of the most important political leader this country knows and which is respected all over the world. On the top of that, you have a situation where the economic management has been put on hold. When the waters are turbulent and choppy, you want to take the steering wheel in strong hands in order to take it ashore. You don't pass on, which was a principle which we practiced from 2000 till December 2006, that all the prices have to be passed on to the consumers. Of course, the poor have to be protected by targeted subsidy. Targeted subsidy will cost you only 100 billion rupees. It doesn't cost you across the board what is costing about 400 billion rupees. That is an inefficient utilization of the scarce resources. If you don't raise your revenues, you don't pass on the burden of all these subsidies to the consumer, where do you go for raising the money? You go to the central bank. And that's exactly what happened. When you go to the central bank and create high-powered money, because the reserve money is created when you lend from the state bank to the government, and you have oil prices going up, you have other commodity prices going up, you have a deficit reduction. At the same time, you cannot have a very decent growth rate. And the growth rate is not created by the governments. The government policies and economic management make the environment in which private decision makers take the decisions, right? That is the whole. So when you politicize economic growth and poverty reduction, which we have done, as if the attribution of this economic growth and the praise for this economic growth should go to the government in power. No, the government in power has only a partial role to play, which is providing the enabling environment which is conducive and favorable in which the private sector actors can make decisions which then lead to economic growth. That's the link. We miss the bigger picture. We say, oh, अगर इस गवर्नमेंट को हमने क्रेडिट दे दी कि इसके ग्रोथ बहुत हुई है, तो ये तो बड़ी गलत है. कहो जी ये फज हुआ है, सारा फेक हुआ है, सारा फ्रॉड है. Why? You are politicizing